Right now, a stranger's face can change what you buy in the next 10 minutes. You won't even notice it happening. Somewhere in your body, a decision is already being made for you, before your conscious mind ever gets a vote. What if you could actually see every invisible force pulling the strings of your life? Not fate, not luck. Real, measurable forces, working on your brain and your body every single day, completely undetected. They shape when you feel sharp and when you feel foggy. They shape who you trust and who you dismiss. They even shape how fast you walk down a hallway. Let's set the rules first. We're not talking about conspiracy theories or mystical energy. We're talking about hard science. Documented, peer-reviewed, repeatable science, tested in real labs on real people. Every force in this video has been measured, tracked, and proven to move human behavior without asking permission first. So what actually happens when we shine a light on the forces you can't see? Let's find out, one layer at a time. Start with your own body, because the first invisible force never even leaves your skull. You feel like you decide when to sleep, when to eat, when to focus, and when to crash. You don't, not really. A tiny cluster of cells behind your eyes, smaller than a grain of rice, quietly runs the entire operation. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Scientist Jurgen Aschoff proved decades ago that even in total darkness, with no clocks, no sunlight, and no outside cues at all, humans keep looping through roughly 24-hour cycles anyway. Your body built its own clock before you were even born. It ticks whether you like it or not, whether you're paying attention or not. Right now, that clock is quietly deciding how sharp your thinking feels this afternoon. It's deciding when your reaction time slows down, just enough to matter behind the wheel of a car. Most people never question it. Why would they? It's invisible. It doesn't send a memo. But here's where the story gets stranger. Your biology isn't the only silent driver in the room. Other people are steering you too, and you're barely aware it's happening. In the 1950s, psychologist Solomon Asch ran a deceptively simple experiment. He placed one real participant in a room with several actors posing as fellow participants. The actors all gave an obviously wrong answer to a simple visual question, on purpose, again and again. And astonishingly, the real participant often went along with it. Not because they were fooled by the actors, because the pull to match the group felt stronger than the evidence sitting right in front of their own eyes. Nearly a third of the time, ordinary people abandoned reality just to avoid standing out. Think about that for a second. This wasn't stupidity. It wasn't weakness, it was wiring, buried deep and running quietly in the background. The exact same wiring is active in every group chat you scroll through, every office meeting you sit in, every crowded room you've ever walked into, feeling certain your opinions were entirely your own. How much of that certainty was really yours to begin with? It gets even stranger once you look at what's happening below the surface of your subconscious. Psychologist Bargh ran a now-famous study where participants unscrambled simple word puzzles. One group's words were quietly loaded with concepts linked to old age, wrinkle, Florida, bingo, gray. Nobody mentioned aging out loud. Nothing on the page pointed toward it directly. And yet, when the participants finished and walked out of the room, researchers secretly timed their steps down the hallway. The group primed with those aging-related words walked measurably slower than everyone else, without realizing why. Their bodies changed course before their conscious mind ever caught up. That's the force we're circling now, the quiet architecture underneath your habits. A single hidden word, planted without your permission, physically changed how a human body moved through space. If a word buried in a puzzle can do that, what else is sliding past your defenses in an ordinary day? There's a fourth force too, and it doesn't even live inside your head. It lives in the environment someone else designed around you. Economist Richard Thaler spent years studying something almost embarrassingly simple, the default option. In countries where organ donation requires you to actively opt in, participation often sits below 20%. In neighboring countries where donation is the default and you'd have to actively opt out, participation frequently jumps above 90%. Same people, roughly the same culture, wildly different outcome, all because of one pre-checked box nobody consciously notices. That's not persuasion. Nobody argued you into anything. It's architecture, quietly built into the paperwork, deciding outcomes for millions of people who believe they made a free, deliberate choice. Every app on your phone uses the exact same trick. The default settings, the pre-selected options, the button that's brighter than the other button, none of it is an accident. Someone designed the invisible push, and you walked straight through it feeling completely in control the entire time. Now stack every layer we've uncovered so far, because none of them work alone. Your internal clock decides your energy and your focus. The people around you quietly decide your beliefs and your confidence. Hidden cues, stray words, colors, sounds, and smells decide your actions before you've consciously registered them at all. And the world around you, the defaults, the buttons, the pre-checked boxes, quietly decides which path you drift down without a fight. That's 4 separate invisible systems, layered directly on top of each other, running simultaneously, every single hour of every single day. None of them ask for consent. None of them announce themselves before they act. They just work, silently and continuously, underneath the confident version of you that believes it's fully in control. So here's where the data finally forces a reveal. Researchers studying decision-making consistently find that a massive share of daily choices are driven by automatic, non-conscious processing rather than slow, deliberate reasoning. Forget the wild internet myth claiming 95% of decisions are subconscious. The real, evidence-backed number is still enormous, and still enough to completely change how you see yourself. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman built an entire framework around this split, describing 2 systems running your mind at once. One is fast, automatic, instinctive, and constantly working in the background. The other is slow, effortful, and used surprisingly rarely. The fast system runs almost everything you do without a second thought. The slow one, the one that actually feels like you making a choice, often gets pulled in late, mostly to explain a decision that's already been made somewhere else. So what's the real answer here? Are you fully controlled, or are you actually free? The twist is this: you're not a puppet with every string pulled by outside hands, but you're not a fully free agent floating above biology and social pressure either. You're something in between, a mind built almost entirely on autopilot, occasionally interrupted by conscious thought that shows up a little late and quietly takes the credit anyway. The forces are real, the influence is measurable, but awareness genuinely changes the equation, and that's the part most people never learn. The moment you know your body clock is steering your focus, you can plan your hardest tasks around it instead of fighting it blind. The moment you know a crowd can bend your judgment without a single word being spoken to you directly, you can pause half a second before instantly agreeing. The moment you know a stray word or image can nudge your walk, your mood, or your next decision, you can stop and ask exactly where that nudge came from. Knowing the strings exist doesn't cut them completely, not all at once, not forever, but it lets you feel the tug the instant it happens, and sometimes, that split second of awareness is genuinely enough to resist it. Look around your own life right now, today, this week. The lighting in the store that made you linger far longer than you planned to. The friend's confident opinion that quietly, gradually became your own opinion too. The tired afternoon slump that isn't laziness at all. It's biology running on an ancient, invisible timer. None of this is imaginary or exaggerated for effect. The pre-checked box on a form you skimmed past this year. The notification sound engineered to pull your hand toward your phone before your brain even asks why. All of it is measurable, documented, and replicated across study after study, decade after decade, in labs on nearly every continent. You walked into this video assuming you were fully in charge of your own choices, start to finish. The truth turns out to be stranger, and honestly more humbling. You're a constant, ongoing collaboration between your biology, the people surrounding you, and signals you never consciously notice at all. So the next time you make any decision today, even something small, stop for exactly 1 second first. Ask yourself the very question we started with. Is this really you deciding, or is it one of the invisible forces, quietly running the show again, just like it always has?